What's good, everyone? Today we're here for my round 17 AFL tips and predictions. I just want to say as well, obviously this video is coming out to you guys much later than it should be. Normally these are always out on the Tuesday. This is going to be out later on a Thursday because, well, the footage that I filmed originally got corrupted. I released my other video on that Tuesday and then I had work today and I didn't have time to actually film this until I got finished from work. Make sure you guys check my community post for some updates because I always post updates on whether or not tipping videos will be delayed or not. Alrighty, with that all cleared, let's go through round 16 score, and I've got myself a total of 8 out of 9. I give myself a round of applause for that because that is a really good score considering it was a tough week for most with all the upsets. Let's go and review them, and luckily this was a round where I actually didn't forget to click submit. So we got Brisbane correct on the Friday, Western Bulldogs. The only game I got wrong was Sydney. Gold Coast, Adelaide and Geelong. 3 really good tips because most tipped the other sides. Put Adelaide, Carlton and Hawthorn. So yeah, very solid score of 8 out of 9. I think my best round of tipping all year. So yeah, more scores like that would be great because my total score isn't even that bad. I don't think 88 is the worst total score, especially considering I did forget to click submit a few times throughout this season. Okay, so let's take a look at round 16 for my tipping comp. So good work to Zayden and Max for getting a total of 16 in round 16. That is a score of 8 with the Joker, Zayden YT, Sasha Kafer, and John Peterson 45 all tipped a perfect score of 9. And with a green, obviously you get the correct bonus point. So very good work for those people as well. Really tough round, I feel like it was to tip for majority of the people. As you can see, I got 88, so I got 8 alongside a few other people as well. So of course, very happy with my tipping. Let's go to total score now, and it's Swan Hunter still leading by 2, but it is very tight in the top 26 really. There's only 6 points separating top 26. Swan Hunter is 113, Rort Wasp, Jakey H, Yusuf with 111, Hamish and Butsy with 110. Alrighty, so let's review the big calls for last week, and unfortunately, it was another failed week, needing to get 3. I ended up getting 2 correct. I almost got my 3rd one correct for the round, but unfortunately, we have to go back to take a look to see which one got the most likes. And shit! This one got the most likes, and it was to go to a Collingwood game and go to the cheer squad dressed in Collingwood stuff, and when other team kicks a goal, you have to start a Collingwood suck chant and see their reaction. Unfortunately, with that punishment, there's a decently good chance I'll get absolutely bashed because it's Collingwood and I'm yelling Collingwood suck in the cheer squad. So I don't know if this is actually going to be an achievable punishment, because some punishments, if I don't feel like they're 100% appropriate, I don't end up doing. But I feel like with this one, I don't know, is it going to be worth me getting bashed? Because it's probably going to end up happening if I do this. Let me know down below in the comments if you think I'm allowed to change it to just do the second most liked comment, which is this one. I actually don't know if I'll even be able to get this one done because I don't know how many more Collingwood games of the season I'm able to go to. I'll confirm exactly which one it'll be for next week's tipping video, but maybe I'll put like a poll up on one of my videos or something like that because I'm not too sure. Hopefully next week I can start avoiding a few because it's starting to get a little bit over the top now with a few that I need to do. Only needing 2 this week. But on the screen, as you can see, I have like 3 or 4 that I haven't done yet. All right, let's just dive straight into the tips. Wait. Hold up. This is a concern. If you can see right here, this number has never been bigger in terms of my watch time from subscribers. 61.7% of the viewers haven't hit that red button. We're trying to push beyond 40k by the end of the season. I'll be doing a giveaway at 40k. Hit that red button if you like footy. Come on, before we get into the tips, I want to see that number go up. We have to get it down to under 61.7. That's a concern. Lovely, you've hit the subscribe button. We're on the same page. Let's actually now get into the tip. We start on the Friday night between Collingwood and Essendon. Obviously, as you can see, I'm wearing the Bomber scarf because once again, the Collingwood scarf is nowhere to be seen, and at this rate, it's probably as far away as Narnia. So, need to get my hands on one of them definitely as soon as I can. But for this game, it is massive in terms of shaping up the 4, despite both of these sides losing on the weekend. Collingwood is certainly in the prime position to probably win this game, and I think most people are expecting Essendon to start falling. I had a look at a stat, and Essendon are the only side apart from North Melbourne to not beat a side currently in the 8. The Bombers, if we want to take them seriously, they've got to start beating some decent sides. Otherwise, you know, they're going to fall out the 8 because they've got a fairly difficult fixture remaining, I feel like, compared to their start. Last week, Collingwood lost to the Suns, and I knew they were going to be challenged by Gold Coast. It's at home for Gold Coast. They're always a hard side to play there. And once again, for Collingwood, like they seem to always do, they left their run too late, but this time they actually lost. Normally, when they do leave their run too late, they still find a way to win, but for once they lost, and it was probably deserving because they only really turned up properly in that last quarter. And then for Essendon, well, they were definitely really poor after half-time. Despite shocking umpiring, it has to be said, in the third quarter, I don't think it should dictate a 45-point result. It also has something to do with Essendon just dropping their heads and just not really playing to the conditions as well. And against Geelong, once again, they just can't seem to beat that side. They should have been in front by more in the first half, I felt, because they had more control of the contest and the game. They just couldn't execute their skills well enough, I didn't think. So I thought they should have been in front by a little bit more. They had a terrible second half. They basically gave up in that last quarter from what it looked like. This is also around the time where Collingwood have tend to start playing their best footy, and it's also around the sort of time where Essendon start having their slump like we saw last year. And the last time they beat Collingwood was back in 2021. So it'll be tough for the Bombers to get up here. I could see the upset, but I'm just going to go the safe tip. Despite Collingwood being further below the Bombers on the ladder, Collingwood are the favourites here, and I'm going to say they got the job done as the classier side by 19 points. With my big call that there are 5 or more behinds than goals. Alrighty, next up we have North Melbourne and Gold Coast in the first game on the Saturday at Marvel. And for once, this might actually be an alright game of footy between these two sides. Because in the last 5 years, every game between these two teams have been pretty irrelevant because there's no implications when it comes to finals or anything like that. With Gold Coast fighting for a final spot, this could be a lot more interesting than we once anticipated. And also, it has to be said, North have been pretty impressive in the last month of footy. Yet, they've only got the one win to show for it, but I feel like they're definitely deserving of 1 or 2 more wins here. And they're very competitive as well, much better defensively. I feel like this is definitely a chance for North if they continue playing the way they have to get a win here because, well, Gold Coast, they're not the best side away as it's been shown. They got a really strong win last week against the Pies. Probably their best win of the year as well, I'd say, for Gold Coast, the way they played. Almost choked in the end, but they got the win. But once again, that home win continues their really bizarre home and away winning record where the Gold Coast Suns haven't lost a game at home, but haven't won a game away from home. So if you follow along the trend, you would probably tip North here, but I just feel like Gold Coast, they can't bottle a game like this against the 18th place side, regardless of it being at Marvel. I feel like North are a chance, but Gold Coast should be the stronger side. I think this will be a pretty close game, maybe a bit low scoring, but I'm going to say Gold Coast get the job done in their first away win because they have to. If they don't win this, then they're not going to win an away game for the rest of the season. So Gold Coast by 10, my big call, Sheasel, Anderson and Miller combined for 100 touches. And also on the Saturday, 1:45 PM, we've got Port Adelaide and the Western Bulldogs at the Adelaide Oval. I'd probably say, in my opinion, for this round, the hardest game to predict because pretty similar where these two sides are placed. I feel like the Bulldogs this season probably have a little bit more upside, but it is a home game for Port Adelaide. But again, I don't think Port Adelaide having that home game advantage gives them too much of an advantage because they haven't really been that great this year at home. I'm pretty sure their last game where they actually won, where they were convincing in a way, was against St Kilda. And that was like in round 6. Since then, though, 3 of the last 4 games of the AO have been losses. So they've been really disappointing the last month in a bit of footy. They've fallen off quite a bit. To be fair, they got a win against the Saints on the weekend, but I wouldn't say that win was overly convincing, and there were times where they certainly could have lost that game as well. But I mean, those 4 points might be crucial come the end of the season. As I said before with the Dogs, I think they got more talent, and I think this season the Dogs have better chances of pushing higher up the ladder than Port do this year. They have been quite inconsistent. They're starting to find a little bit of form back, a couple wins in a row. That great win against the Dockers and that win against the Kangaroos as well. Nothing too convincing about that, but they just needed to get that win. And I had a feeling North Melbourne would be pretty competitive, which they were. I don't know, I feel like the Dogs definitely could win this game. They seem to play right at the Adelaide Oval. I mean, at least in the 2021 prelim, they got the job done in that game. They're normally pretty competitive, and I feel like at the moment with the power, I'm not going to back him in. I haven't got as much faith as I do the Bulldogs, and I think this is a really good chance to get a pretty decent win away from home against a top 8 contender. So I'm going to say that the Dogs win this game, actually, and I'm going to say the Dogs win it by 14 points. A big call that the Dogs score 110 points or more. Alrighty, we head now to GMHBA Stadium for Geelong and Hawthorn, 4:35 PM on the Saturday. The first time since 2006 where Hawthorn will be playing a game in Geelong. Apart from 2020, but we don't count the COVID years because they're kind of irrelevant. And I think this is going to be a chance of for sure being one of the games of the round and maybe one of the games of the season, considering the rivalry between these two sides and Hawthorn. Really awesome form at the moment with their last 5 games being wins. Now, I do want to go to this game as well. At the moment, I haven't got a ticket, so I think the game's sold out. So this might not happen, but if I get to go to the game, I'll make a video on it because I think this game could be really good. Now, for last week, the Cats got a much-needed confidence-boosting win to reclaim their finals credentials. A big win against the Bombers. They were just much better suited to the conditions, I thought. Pretty wet and slippery game. Stengel and Dempsey, in my opinion, were quite impressive. And then the Hawthorn as well, they were also really good and probably played even better than what I once thought they were going to play, despite me tipping them, I think, by 40 points. Probably could have won the game by more if they were more efficient in the first half, but they just strangleholded the Eagles away from home as well. It's not the easiest win playing against West Coast at home with a full strength list, but at the moment Hawthorn can beat anyone anywhere, which is why I think they're a chance in this game. I'd say they're the third best team currently. If you look at form, they've got 5 wins in a row, I think 6 wins in the last 7, and I definitely could see it carrying on. I definitely could see Hawthorn winning this game. The Cats are the GMHBA as well. They aren't really a guarantee anymore this season. They've been a bit hit or miss, I feel like, the Cats there. So I reckon, because if I'm going to this game, or even if I'm watching on TV, I want Hawthorn to win. I might as well tip Hawthorn if I want them to win, because I think they can. We'll go a bit of an upset. We'll say the Hawks by 15 points, continuing their really impressive form. And I'll say that my big call will be that there'll be 10 or more lead changes. Alrighty, next up we have GWS and, well, Carlton. But like, once again, my sister, she hasn't given me the scarf back, her friend. And she's in the Gold Coast right now as well, which enjoying a holiday whilst the Carlton scarf is going missing, which is not the best for the videos. But this game is going to be a real test for the Giants, I feel, because I feel like right now, most people will think this is a relatively simple game to predict, with the favouritism going towards Carlton. And I don't really know what's been going on with the Giants. What's up with them right now? Because after being clear premiership favourites probably by round 6, they've now lost 6 of the last 8 and would be in serious doubt of making finals altogether with their form. It's just really, really concerning. I mean, they're still, weirdly enough, the 6th highest side in terms of the premiership odds. It's probably because we know that they're capable of doing a lot more. Maybe they're a bit overrated. I don't know. Last week, they were really weak. They lacked a lot of fight in their game. I saw them at a late charge in that last quarter, but it wasn't really going to be enough for them, was it? And I think they definitely deserve to lose their game by more. Adelaide with a much better side for much longer in the game. And this is going to be a really tough task against Carlton, who are just continuing to tear apart their opponents. I'd say they're the best team in the comp in terms of getting goals in quick succession and just changing the game in basically 10 minutes of footy. They absolutely tore Richmond apart with 6 goals in 10 minutes. I remember I watched it on the way back from the Saints v Port game on the train on KO. I think it was 57-46. I had a nap because I was bloody tired. I woke up and the Blues are up by like 50. Crazy. It was a crazy game for Carlton. They turned the game around big time. I know it was against Richmond, but still though, they're just such a deadly side in front of goals. And how good has Paddy Cripps been as well in the last few weeks? Well, just this season overall, we had another game where he had 40 disposals. So 2 40 disposal games in a row. 87% of the people here are going the Blues. But to be honest, it would not shock me whatsoever if the Giants do bounce back and respond with a win. They'd be much more desperate, I would feel, considering that their finals chances are on the line here. And Carlton wouldn't be as desperate considering they're probably locked in a top 2 spot with 5 wins in a row. However, despite me saying all that, I'm still probably going to back in the Blues here. It's the safe call. I think they're probably going to win. They're going too well not to back in, but I think the Giants will be competitive for sure, and it'll be a really close game of footy. But Carlton by 5, my big call, Jesse Hogan kicks 5 or more goals. Alrighty, next up we got Fremantle and Richmond at Optus Stadium. The last game on the Saturday, and I think probably the easiest game of the round to tip. Fremantle right now are flying. Like, we didn't know exactly where they were at with their consistencies, but they just knocked off the best side of the competition away from home by a point, which is crazy because we didn't know if Sydney were going to lose another game, or at least we didn't know when. The fact that they managed to hold on to the end, they started like a house on fire. Over the time as the game wore on, they did get a little bit more exposed. Sydney started to come back like they always do, but the Dockers had too much desperation and fight to hold on, and they won the game by a point. And now they're sitting 3rd on the ladder, and top 4 chances look like they're well and truly on here, and maybe even make a grand final if they just continue to impress here. They should beat Richmond, because Richmond right now, they're 17th on the ladder. Last week, they were all right against Carlton, I thought, at least for the first half. When it was 11 points, I was like, geez, they're not doing too bad against a really strong Carlton side. Obviously, they ended up losing by more than 60 points, and, you know, it's a bit unfortunate for them, but they know where they're at. Richmond are currently in the midst of a rebuild. They're definitely going to have a few years on the bottom end of the ladder. Their list is just certainly not good enough compared to some of the other teams in the comp. A certain someone reckons this game was match fixing, but it can't dictate a 60-point margin, unfortunately, for the person who said that. But yeah, I think we're going to keep this one a bit short and sweet with my predictions. Fremantle, they can't be dropping games like this. With where they're at, if they drop a game like this after beating Sydney, then that Sydney win's basically all gone to waste. It just can't be the case. So I'm going to say the Dockers should win this game by a big margin. I'll say they win by 45 points. And my big call is that the Dockers win the free kick count by 10 or more. I feel like this is a chance considering the games at Optus and Richmond of all sides, basically in the last 5 years, injuries. They've been stitched up the most when it comes to the free kicks. By far, they've had the least amount of free kicks of any side. All right, the first game of the Sunday, Melbourne take on West Coast at the MCG. I think the first time since 2014, 2015 where the Eagles are actually playing the D to the G. I just don't understand why fixturing is like this. Why can't they make it so, it's a bit more consistent? But yeah, first time we'll see this in a while. And, could we see West Coast being a chance of winning this game? Probably not with their recent form, to be fair. Melbourne, I'll give them credit. After probably one of their worst wins they've had in recent memory against North, where they didn't deserve to win that game with how they played, they had one of the more unluckiest losses where they probably definitely deserved to win against the Lions. I thought they were the better side. I didn't watch really much of the game, but I was watching bits and pieces. I was watching the ending. Obviously, I saw what happened at the end with Neil Bullen. The rugby try basically costed the game there, and I feel a little bit bad for the D's because they were really good, to be honest with you, especially in that second quarter where they kicked away, and Pickett kicked 5 as well. I thought he was really impressive, and Oliver had one of his better games of footy for the year as well, which could mean he might be back in a bit of form. And with West Coast, unfortunately for their sake, they're really continuing to slump now after a period of really impressive footy where they were basically competitive in every game they played at home. Even with all their plays back, with Reed, Waterman, Kelly, they're not really the same team that they were a month ago. They've lost their last 5, and, fucking hell, they were terrible against the Hawks. I thought that was probably their worst loss all year. When you really think about it, it looked like they didn't want to be out there. As I said before, they basically had a full list. And only scoring 4 goals as well. I think 2 in the first 3 quarters it might have been. So really disappointing for the West Coast. Can they bounce back? Surely they bounce back a little bit. I don't think the D's right now are in the best of form still. I can't have any faith right now in West Coast to beat them at the MCG. That would be a bit too much of a task, I feel like, in my opinion. I reckon the Eagles will play it out pretty well. I think it'll be similar to their game against the Bombers. Contend for 3 quarters, but just fall away late. And I think, the D's should definitely win this game if they want to make finals, and I think they will by 30 points with a big call that the Eagles will be leading at halftime. Alrighty, next up we got St Kilda and Sydney at Marvel Stadium. I'd say the Q on the rack is officially in for the Saints in what has been a really shit season, with the mathematic chance of making finals pretty much all gone now after that game against Port Adelaide. I didn't think we played too badly, at least not in the first half against Port Adelaide, until we lost our run and carry in that second half, and it just turned out to be another one of those really low-scoring, boring contests that you seem to get every other week for St Kilda, which is disappointing. Obviously, over the week, Maxing's been under heavy criticism for how he's been going with his performances. Turns out he has a PCL. He tore it. He was playing under it last week, and he'll be out for the rest of the year. But what I want to know is why the hell was he playing with it in the first place? So no King for the rest of the year. Maybe that's a positive for St Kilda. They could use it into a positive. I don't know. But yeah, this isn't going to be an easy game for St Kilda whatsoever. They're coming up against the best team in the comp in Sydney, who did lose their first game since, I think, round 3 last week. So finally a loss for the Swans, but I don't think playing Sydney after a loss is the best thing. They'll have the fuel and the fire to definitely bounce back here, but I feel like their starts are definitely becoming a little bit of a concern. Once again, starting really poorly. I think the quarter time score is 18 of 44, and if they don't fix that up, I don't think they can rely on coming back like they have been throughout the home and away season and finals against the best side. Who knows, a side might get onto them really early and they might not be able to come back from it in the finals. Obviously, all signs here are leading to Sydney winning, but for some reason, I just have that inkling that St Kilda could cause a really big upset here. And it isn't just because I go for the Saints. It's not like I tip St Kilda every week. I didn't tip them last week. If the Saints can be accurate, if they can take advantage of Sydney's slow starts and get off to maybe a 5 or 6 goal start, that could be enough at Marvel if we're defensive enough like we have been playing to just put a stranglehold on Sydney and maybe get a win here. It's obviously sounding ridiculous with only 2% going the Saints, but I'm going to just say the upset because it's fun and it doesn't matter. I'm not winning any tipping comp. We're going to tip the Saints by 11 points against the Swans. Yes, I know, really crazy. With my big call, 5 or more goals will be scored than behind for St Kilda. And the final game of the round, we have Brisbane take on Adelaide at the Gabba. A bit of an odd Gabba fixture for the final game of the round on the 4:10 PM time slot. The Lions almost squandered their possible top 4 aspirations with the game against the D's, but McCluggage ended up being the hero. He saved the day with a really good goal from the boundary, and obviously ended up winning the game by 5 points. And currently now sitting back in the 8 with 4 wins in a row. So it looks like top 4 looks very likely for Brisbane if they just keep winning, which I think with their form right now they definitely can. Whereas for Adelaide, finally they responded with a really good win. Finally had a game where they were probably playing to their expectations of what we thought of them ahead of the year at the Adelaide Oval. I would like to go over this game in a bit more detail, but I was at Essendon Geelong, so I couldn't even watch a minute of it. I don't exactly know how Adelaide won the game. I did see that Isaac Rankin dominated once again, so he's just continuing to impress in every game he's playing for Adelaide this season. This will be a bit too hard though for Adelaide. I doubt they'll win this game. lines right now, the Gabba are looking quite strong. They almost won last year, to be fair. They came quite close, the Crows, so it could be another one of those instances where they just put in a really good fight with nothing to lose, because realistically at the moment, Brisbane have much more to lose than the Crows do, but I still think Brisbane, they're definitely the side you're going to back in here. But I expect, yeah, a pretty high-scoring game and a bit of a shootout. But I'm going to say the Lions by 21 points with a big call. There will be 205 or more combined points. Alrighty, everyone. Well, those are my tips. Collingwood by 19, Gold Coast, the Bulldogs, the Hawks, the Blues, the Dockers, the D's, the Saints, and the Lions. And just let me know down below what you think on that Collingwood chant punishment as well, because I need to get all the Collingwood gear and I need to get people to help film and be a part of it as well. So if I can get that going, then maybe, but I'm still not 100% sure on that one. Until then, though, I'll see you guys soon on my next one. I'm sorry for getting this out so late as well. It won't happen again. Dumbass on my behalf for doing so, but at least I still got a tips video out for you guys. Better late than never.